For the better part of 10 years now, I've received emails almost every single day from fish keepers all over the world, and I've noticed a bit of a trend. And it's a trend that kills a lot of fish. Let's talk about that. Hey folks, it's John with KeepFishKeeping.com, and today I want to talk about something that kills more fish than almost anything else in the hobby. It's something that almost every fish keeper has done, usually in the beginning. It's an easy thing to do, but it's also very easy to control. But this issue is not reserved to only new fish keepers. I've talked to many experienced fish keepers that have said they've made this mistake multiple times and they've almost gone broke from it. So what is this mistake that everyone has made? What is this mistake that has caused an immeasurable amount of fish death and a lot of wasted money? It's impulse control. I want 7 of those, 5 of those, 2 of those, 2 of those over there, and I want 2 of those, and maybe even 3 of those. Wait a minute, what size tank are you putting it in? Oh, it's not a problem, don't worry. I have a huge tank. It's a 75 gallon. This happens almost every single day in fish stores all over the world, and it's completely understandable. We go into the store and we see all of these things, and we just have to have them all. Usually, if you're in a pet store that has even the slightest amount of integrity, they're gonna stop you and they're gonna say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't gonna work. But it doesn't always happen this way. When we had our fish store, we had a customer come in every single Friday without fail. Paydays were busy days. He would buy 2 or 3 fish at a time, and this guy talked a great game. It was very obvious to us that he knew exactly what he was doing. He was an experienced fish keeper. Over the course of a couple of months, this gentleman purchased discus, African cichlids, Oscars, angels, tetras, you name it, this guy bought it. He basically came into the store every single week and bought whatever it was that caught his eye. Whatever he saw and he liked, he bought. And I can remember vividly having this conversation with him one day. I said, hey, I bet you your fish room is a sight to behold. And he said, oh, I don't have a fish room. I've got 1 tank. Now at the time, this story had a pretty happy ending. He showed me pictures and videos of his fish. They were all very healthy. They were all thriving and everybody seemed to be getting along. But this is pretty rare. I would say probably 99% of the tanks where you have this kind of a combination of fish going on is going to end in disaster. Now, I know what you're thinking. John, with the access to information that we all have nowadays, nobody's going to make that kind of mistake because they're going to know more about what they're doing before they even go into the store to buy fish. Well, let me read you an email I just got. I just got to find it. Dear John and Lisa, new subscriber and fan, always great reviews and feedback. Learning a lot from you guys, thanks. Here's my question/request. I have a 75-gallon tank, which I got recently, and I've got the following fish in it. 7 Acara electric blues, 2 pleco bristlenose, 3 roseline sharks, 1 clown loach, 2 golden gouramis, 1 black ghost knife, 2 tiger barbs, 2 blue Texas cichlids, 1 Malawi cichlid, 2 livingstone eye cichlids, 2 green terror cichlids, 2 silver bala sharks, and oh, by the way, I want to add 2 more frontosas. This email just came to me on Wednesday. Now, I'm not trying to put this individual on blast that sent me this email, and I'm certainly not trying to ridicule him in this video, and I don't want you to in the comment section either. And you want to know why? Because I bet you've made this mistake too. We all have. Even with the access to information that we all have, we all still make mistakes. Why? Impulse control. We see all these beautiful fish and we just have to have them. Tell me you haven't had it happen to you where you get completely mesmerized by a fish and you just have to have it. I'm going to tell you a pretty embarrassing story, but you know what? That's why I do what I do, so that I can share with you my mistakes so that you don't have to make them. It was about 20 years ago. I was at one of my favorite fish stores and I saw the most amazing stingray I've ever seen in my life. It was gray and it had these bright blue highlights on it. It was amazing. I'd never seen anything like it, and I knew I just had to have this fish. An employee came up to me and we started talking about this stingray, and the more he told me, the more I had to have it. He was telling me all about it, and he said, but here's the thing, this fish is gonna get anywhere from 10 to 12 inches in size. And I said, you know what? That's not a problem at all, because I've got a 125-gallon tank and it's wide open. He's gonna have plenty of room. This fish just had me completely out of my mind. I had tunnel vision. I could not think of anything else. This fish I just had to have. No matter what, I had to have it. And I told the guy that. I said, all right, that's it. Wrap it up for me. I'm taking it home. So he goes and he gets the buckets and the nets and all that kind of stuff, comes back. And while he's getting things ready to bag this fish up for me, thankfully, he started asking some questions. And that's when the embarrassing part happened. As he's getting everything ready and ready to pack this fish up for me, he says, you know, you said your tank is wide open, but do you have any plans or anything like that to put any live rock or corals in the tank? And I was like, no, why would I do that? And he's like, okay, well, that's good. So what do you keep your salinity at? And I'm like, 0, duh. And he says, sir, this is a saltwater ray. I've never been more embarrassed in my life. As if I haven't embarrassed myself enough, I stood in that store for like 20 minutes just contemplating, should I just go ahead and buy all the stuff right now to convert that tank into a saltwater tank? I mean, I could do that. You know, it's not going to take that much. It's not going to be that hard. I just couldn't let it go. I'm telling you, impulse control is a powerful thing. This is something that once you get that focus, you get that tunnel vision, and you just have to have whatever that fish is, or other things that we're going to talk about in a minute, you just lose control a little bit. I think we've all experienced that. It sucks, but it happens all the time. And believe me, when it comes to impulse control, I'm only scratching the surface of stories that I could tell you. I've got a few of them. Look, we have access to so much information right now. There's no excuse for not looking into things before you subject an animal to abuse or death from other fish. Tanks that aren't big enough, or not being up to speed on how to take care of this new animal. When it comes to impulse control, there's another way we can lose our grip on it, and that's wasting a lot of money. Now, I own a business where I sell fish keeping supplies, medications, and everything else, and I want nothing more than for you to come and buy up all of my inventory. But not if you're just throwing money at problems. My website is keepfishkeeping.com. The reason we chose that name is because we want to help people stay in the hobby. When you have a problem and you start throwing piles of money at it and things don't turn around, it's real easy to just throw your hands up and say, to hell with it. And that's exactly what I'm trying to stop. So anyway, are you ready for another story? When I first got started in this hobby, I knew absolutely nothing about how an aquarium worked or the science behind the water or anything like that. I started out with two 29-gallon tanks and a 55-gallon tank. And for all three of them, I used under gravel filters. This was 1993. Anyway, the two 29-gallon tanks were great. Everything was fine. I didn't have any problems with them at all, except for the fact that I had an Oscar in one and an arowana and a Budokofry in the other. Yeah. But the 55-gallon would just never clear up. It just always looked gray and cloudy. No matter how much I cleaned it, I just couldn't get that cloudiness to go away. It was driving me crazy, and I got so frustrated that I decided it was the filter's fault. The filter was to blame for why this wouldn't clear up. I was using air pumps to drive the under gravel filters, and I said, you know what, that's just not enough. This aquarium is too big. I'm gonna have to put some power in there. So I ran to the pet store and I bought two power heads. I put the power heads on there. I said, okay, now we should be good to go. A week goes by, and it still isn't any better. Nothing has changed. Water is still gray. I'm still going crazy, and I'm still frustrated. So I said, you know what, that's it. I'm just gonna add even more to this. I went down to the same pet store again. It was only a few miles from my house, and I bought a hang on the back filter this time. I said, this is gonna be it. This is gonna fix the problem. A week later, still a problem. Everything still looks exactly the same. I'm thinking to myself, I can't put enough filtration on this thing to clear it up. I run back to the pet store again. I say, look, this is what I have going on. These are the filters that I have. This is it. The water's still cloudy. It's still gray. What should I do? And he says, well, maybe you should try one of these. And I ended up buying this silly internal filter thing. I don't even know what it was. It was back in '93. I'm sure they don't even make it anymore, but bought that thing and I said, okay, this is it. This is the thing that's gonna fix the problem. And I think you know how this story's gonna end. A week later, same thing. Still nothing has changed. I had an under gravel filter, which on a 55 was 2 under gravel filters with the posts that go up with the power heads on the top. I had a hang on the back filter. I bought some weird, I don't even know what it was, the 1993's version of a UV sterilizer. I don't know what it was. That didn't work. I was ready to just say, screw it, forget it. The other tanks are doing fine. This one is making me crazy. I'm just gonna get rid of this tank. But fortunately for me, and my fish, I had a friend come over that knew a thing or two about aquariums. None of us knew much, but he knew more than me, and he came over, he looked at it, I told him everything that I had done. I told him exactly my process of what I was doing. I told him about all of this equipment that I bought, all this money that I spent, and it took him about 5 seconds to look at it and then look at me and say, dumbass, you never let this aquarium cycle. I said, what are you talking about? The water cycles through the filter and it cycles through the hang on the back and it cycles through the new thing there in the corner. It cycles through everything. What? Needless to say, I got a lesson that night about how the whole nitrogen cycle works, how the whole process of a new aquarium works. Shout out to Art Clark for teaching me about the nitrogen cycle back in 1993. So what was happening was I set this tank up, I got everything going with the original equipment that I had, and after about a month, it just didn't look right. So I decided to add more equipment, and then add more equipment, and then add more equipment. But what I didn't tell you, and what I didn't tell all of the people that I was talking to until I told my friend, was I was also performing a thorough cleaning of the tank every single time I was adding one of these pieces of equipment. So every week I was taking everything down and basically starting all over again from scratch. And of course, you know, that's the worst possible thing that you can do with a new aquarium. So I was throwing money at a problem. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what to do to fix this problem. I thought I was doing everything right because of my lack of knowledge. And I just thought throwing money at the problem was going to fix it. And I didn't have very much money at the time, so that wasn't any fun. What can I say? I've always been someone that learns things the hard way. I'm hard-headed. Anyway, listen, we as fish keepers need to keep control of our impulses. Our impulses to buy every fish we see, our impulse to buy fish that shouldn't be kept with fish we have, or fish that get way too big for the tank we have. If you find yourself in a pet store and you see a fish you just have to have, or you're having a problem in your aquarium and you can't figure it out, just take a step back, take a deep breath, and relax. Don't let your impulse to want to buy get the best of you. After thinking about it for a bit, you may realize that you really shouldn't buy that fish, or you'd be better off leaving your aquarium alone and letting things settle down on their own. You'll be so glad you spared that fish from a miserable experience, or you've saved all that money. I've certainly been guilty of losing control of my impulses many times over the course of 26 years, and we're not even only talking about fish, we're talking about other stuff too, but I share these things with you so that you can learn from my mistakes. That's the beautiful thing about the world today, is that you can hear what other people have done and you can learn to not do what they did. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this video has kind of opened your eyes a little bit to how we can easily lose control of our impulse, and it's the fish that suffer for that, and we don't want that. So do me the favor, check out my website, keepfishkeeping.com. It's a website that's all about keeping things simple and keeping you in this hobby. That's the goal. I am a believer that we lose way too many fish keepers. So the goal of that website is going to be to keep people in this hobby instead of them bailing because they're killing fish or they're wasting too much money. So I'll put a link in the description there for the website. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.